equity, mate.
I will say this about investing. Everything you do learn is cumulative. What I learned at 20 is useful.
Welcome to another episode of Equity Mates, where we will help you learn to invest in 15 minutes or less. We break down the world of investing from beginning to dividend so that you can hopefully make some returns. My name's Bryce, and as always, I'm joined by my still 4 wisdom teeth less equity buddy, Ren. How are you going, bro?
I'm very good, Bryce. I'm very good. I'm dosed up on painkillers at the moment, so if I start slurring my words or I guess if I start getting really insightful, then you'll know that they've kicked in.
Yeah, I mean, the recovery started well and it seems to be lingering around for a bit longer than expected.
Yeah, false start, you know.
So you went too hard too early.
I did. I went way too hard.
You were eating bricks 2 days after. Concrete.
Yeah, but you know, you live and you learn. So, yeah. But we, you were very worried that I was getting my wisdom teeth out 7 days before our first live show. I put those concerns to bed, I think.
You absolutely did.
But then after rallying through that, it's got the best of me.
And now I'm worried about our live Sydney show.
Yeah, no, it'll be fine. So let's recap what has happened and what is going to happen, because we stepped out from behind the mics and we did a live show with BetaShares and General Assembly. How did you find it?
Mate, I had a great time. It was really good to meet some of our listeners. It's good to know that there actually are some faces out there listening along. So that was probably one of the coolest parts, I think, of the evening. And the feedback that we got, everyone certainly walked away feeling a bit more inspired and feeling like they had some artillery in their back pocket to help them, start investing or confirm a few things that they wanted to confirm. So I had a great time, really pumped for Sydney. We're going to probably change a few things in our prezzo to hopefully have a bit more impact. What was your thoughts?
Yeah, I think it was good. It was a strange phenomenon meeting some of our listeners for the first time.
Yes.
And it was really good. So if you're a listener in Sydney and you're on the fence about coming out, definitely register and come. It's free to attend. There's no harm in coming, and you might learn a thing or two. Hopefully we'll be as entertaining as the podcast, which isn't saying a lot, but if you're slugging through these podcasts, then our live show is probably just for you.
Absolutely, yeah. So a massive thanks to all of our listeners who did come to Melbourne. If we had the opportunity to meet you, it was awesome. If we didn't, but you were there, a massive thanks. And for those of you who are new to the show, and this is your first episode, what we're talking about is a series that we've been doing with BetaShares and working with General Assembly. We're doing a free evening called #FinanceGoals, Make Your Money Grow with You. And we are talking all things investing, from beginner concepts such as what are ETFs, through to some of the more cool investing sort of topics that are in society today, such as cybersecurity and global technology and that sort of stuff. We have the experts there, the CEO of BetaShares, Elon. He comes up and gives a really cool and inspiring sort of intro into ETFs and BetaShares, and then we'll follow up with a few awesome lessons that we've learnt along the way over the last sort of 12 months or 18 months doing this podcast. So we're looking forward to it, Ren. It's the first and last time that we'll be doing this in Sydney with BetaShares next Thursday, the 13th. So yeah, tickets are free, but and they are now becoming limited. So certainly sign up. Head to our website equitymates.com to get your ticket.
Yeah, nice one. So in the spirit of meeting our listeners and answering their questions, we thought we were well overdue to do our second ever listener mailbag episode.
Yes, well overdue.
Yeah, so we did this probably maybe 6 months ago, and from then we've got a lot of questions. We try and answer your questions, whether they come in over social media, email, however it is. I've got to say, you've been, doing the legwork on that one.
Ren hates the fame.
Yeah.
So.
I'm just not. I'm on hashtag delete Facebook.
Yeah, interesting.
I don't check.
I'm
it that
well
often.
aware.
Yeah. Actually, the only reason I have it is because of Equity Mates. So,
Yeah, I'll agree.
all our listeners out there, you should feel very special that I've kept it for you.
Yeah, so you're right, Ren. We have got a lot of stuff come through website and Facebook, but you've actually set up something on our website called Ask Us Anything, which is an area of the website where anyone can go now and hit us up with a question. And so that's where we're going to be responding. Through the podcast, we'll respond to some of the questions that appear there.
So the intention is we've stolen this idea from Sam Harris. He has a section on his website where listeners will post questions, and similar to Reddit style, where you upvote and downvote posts, listeners will come on and upvote and downvote questions, and then he will answer the top, whatever it is, 5 or 10 every so often, maybe every month or maybe every quarter. So we reckon that's a pretty good idea. It's a good way to sort of crowdsource what the biggest questions are. So we haven't quite built that functionality on our website yet. If anyone knows how to do it really easily, hit us up. But that's the intention. That's what we're driving towards. So hopefully one day you'll actually see it reflected on the website.
Well, let's get stuck in, Ren. We've got 5 or so questions to get through today. A nice range, actually. So let's get stuck in. Question number 1 has come from one of our listeners. It is my question about safety using Raise and Spaceship. And he goes on to say, I've been looking at my teenagers to learn about investing by these apps. What happens if the market tanks, if Raise or Spaceship has issues? Is there the potential to lose underlying securities? So Ren, tough question. Do you want to shed some clarity on that?
Yeah. So
you've been down a rabbit hole.
So I have a little bit to pull the curtain back. Look, we'll just get into it. So there's probably 2 separate things that are being asked here. One is, what if the market tanks and the ETFs or the companies that these investment apps have bought lose value? And then the second thing is, what happens if the actual companies themselves go bankrupt? So in terms of what happens if the market loses value, pretty simply, regardless of where you buy your investments, if as the prices rise and fall, so does your money in these investment apps or in the companies themselves. Investing has risks. Investing has consequences. Don't put more money in than you can stand to lose, because if the companies you've invested in go to zero, whether it's directly or through one of these apps, you will lose that money. Okay, so then the second one, which was where I got caught in a little bit of a rabbit hole, was around what happens if Raise or Spaceship themselves go bankrupt and you have, $100,000 in one of their accounts. What happens? So if we were in America, there's this program, it's SIPC, I think, and it's basically the American government insures deposit accounts, transaction accounts, and investment accounts up to $500,000 for that exact thing. So if the company goes bankrupt and takes your money with it, the American government insures it.
Okay, what about in Australia?
So the Australian government has a similar scheme, regulated through APRA, I'm pretty sure, and it insures authorised deposit-taking institutions up to $250,000. So this is where I sort of got caught in the rabbit hole looking, because these fintech companies like Raise and Spaceship aren't on the list of authorised deposit-taking institutions, but I was looking at, do they have an underlying account with one of these authorized deposit-taking institutions? So, for example, when you sign up with Stake, they actually set you up with a Macquarie account, and then you're basically trading through Macquarie, and Macquarie is an authorized deposit-taking institution. But I couldn't see with Raise and Spaceship, so they don't say where they set up the accounts. So there's an open question there. But then going one step further, just to confuse it even further, even with these authorized deposit-taking institutions, so your Macquaries, your credit unions, your big 4 banks, just your normal sort of banks and credit unions and stuff like that, if it is an investment account, then it's not covered by this scheme. So it's basically every other type of account except investment accounts is covered. So the long and the short of it is, if these companies go bankrupt, they're probably not covered by the government scheme. So
Interesting.
then it's just a question of how likely do you think these companies are to go bankrupt. Now, I'm sure if we went further, there would be a bunch of rules and regulations around money managers and asset managers and what they're allowed to do. Like, obviously, these companies don't hold the money that you put in as assets on their balance sheet, so they can't like draw on that if they get into financial trouble. So look, what likely would happen is they would just transfer the ownership of the underlying assets. So if you own 1% of their fund, and the company went bankrupt, they would likely either return your money or transfer you the underlying assets. But yeah, it's not covered by this Australian government guarantee.
So I guess then, in answer to the question, high risk or low risk, what are your thoughts of it happening?
Low risk.
Yeah.
I think, obviously, if this is something that you're really concerned about, if you're really worried about these companies, then it's probably just for peace of mind, to sleep better at night. You may as well just start a CommSec or a NAB trade investment account rather than one of these smaller funds. But yeah, look, I'm not losing a lot of sleep over these companies taking my money or losing my money.
Nice. Well, I hope that answers the question.
Yeah, I hope that hasn't just worried everyone and confused everyone.
No, I don't think so. I think, as I said, Ren, the likelihood of such things happening would be quite small, I would imagine.
All right, so the next question, hopefully a little bit less complex, is so we've talked about Afterpay a fair bit, and the questioner is asking, given Afterpay share price is quite high, they've found what they call a little brother company, which is Zip Money, ASX code Z1P, and that's only trading at $1.17. So the questioner is asking for your thoughts on this.
Well, Ren, as you know, I'm a big fan of Afterpay.
Yes, a very big fan.
And it's actually had a very rough week. The last week, there was a couple of news articles looking at various bits and pieces of the organisation that we've discussed as a risk area, and this has come to light in the newspapers, in the AFR over the last couple of days or the week or so. So combine that with, I'm sure, people taking profits after it's hit record highs a couple of weeks ago, and we're looking at down about 10% or so. So it was a rough week. Okay, so Zipco ASX Z1P has had a pretty decent run, since sort of early in the year, just similar to Afterpay. But I think my sort of two main points with Zipco is a wait and see approach. I think the management have given out forecasts that are very ambitious, particularly with a strong competitor like Afterpay. And I think the main thing in my mind is that Afterpay were first in market, so they've actually got a lot of major retailers on board that you would consider to be the major retailers in those areas, such as Iconic and those sorts of retailers. Whereas ZipPay Zipco has to come along and almost get what's left. So I think the two most notable ones that they've signed up recently were Spotlight Retail Group, Anaconda, Kogan from memory. They got on board, and I'm pretty sure the share market responded pretty well to that. But yeah, I think overall it would be a wait and see approach for me. If you look at some of their fundamentals, their transaction volume is increasing, their numbers of consumers that are using the product or platform is increasing, and positive signs. But overall, I think it would be a wait and see rather than just have a punt, because, as I said, the management have come out with some pretty decent forecasts. And as we've discussed on the show, Ren, if stocks don't meet forecast, then the market tends to treat them pretty unfavourably. Yeah,
100%. So, it's as you said, it's basically identical to Afterpay. I think its fees are a tiny bit lower. And yeah, it's got some. Apparently, it's got 6,000 retailers, but some of the big ones are Officeworks, Tiger, Air, Kogan, Virgin. So it's not small, but it's basically exactly the same. So yeah, you're right. It's just a land grab between Afterpay and Zipco.
I was just going to say, to give you a comparison in size between Afterpay and Zipco, increased revenue in terms of the company's transaction volume, which is what both companies look at. Zipco went from 51 million in 2016 to 230 million in FY17, which is a huge increase on its own merits. But 230 million compared to, I think it was, 2.5 billion thereabouts, or 3.2 billion for Afterpay. So it just goes to show the level of difference in volume that these two companies are doing. So yeah, there's definitely a market leader in this.
Yeah, and I guess I just want to pick up. So the questioner said, Zip Money or Zipco is cheaper because it's trading at $1.17.
No,
you shouldn't just look at the actual share price and say Afterpay's at whatever $20 odd and Zip Money's at $1, so therefore Zip Money's cheaper. Because you've got to look at the market cap, because for one thing there might be a lot more Zipco shares on offer. So as a whole company, Zipco might actually be valued more.
Yeah.
But also, so Zipco is cash doesn't have positive cash flow. Hasn't made a profit yet.
No.
And Afterpay, I don't think's made a profit yet, but is cash flow positive. So there's just it depends. Something is not necessarily cheaper just because it has a lower per share price.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's all percentage driven anyway. You put money into Afterpay at $20 and put money into Zipco at $1, and they both can go up 50%, and you've made the exact same return. So based on price, it's your return is not going to change.
Yeah.
Nice. All right.
That's I think we've answered that one thoroughly.
Yep. So question 4. Question 3. Question 3. Jumping ahead. One of our listeners, Tim, wrote in and wanted some good recommendations for finance documentaries and movies. He enjoyed us talking about some of the books that we'd read, and that some of our people that we interview, the experts, recommend. But something that we don't often talk about is the movies and the documentaries that are out there to do with sort of finance. So I remember we discussed Dirty Money, which was on Netflix. We both watched and really enjoyed. We discussed that a while back. Is there anything that comes to your mind?
Yeah. So a couple from me. So obviously the old school ones. Enron, the smartest guys in the room, is always a good one, and the original Wall Street, not so much the follow-ups.
Yeah.
Good ones.
Yeah.
And then the Bill Ackman documentary on Herbalife. Well, the documentary on Ackman and Herbalife, Betting on Zero, is a good one. Bill Ackman is he's a very interesting character at this point. He's had some pretty notable losses recently, so I'm fascinated by him. Yeah, what about you?
So I have, obviously I said Dirty Money. I'm watching The China Hustle at the moment, which is super interesting. The Big Short, obviously everyone's probably heard of. Banking on Bitcoin is an interesting look into Bitcoin on Netflix. I also had Betting on Zero. That was a really good one.
Yep.
The Inside Job, which is super interesting. It's all about what led to the GFC.
Okay.
And everything that happened around that time. So, full feature film length. Awesome.
I don't think I've heard of that one. Is it like The Big Short level?
Yeah. Oh, it's not like movie, but it's like movie length. Pro doco, really pro doco.
Oh, nice.
Really good. Inside Job, it's called. And then there's one called IOUSA, sort of acronym. But
clever title. I like it.
Yeah, it's all about America's national debt and all the reasons why they could go broke. Because as you know, that America's national debt is ridiculous.
Yes, but as you know, countries that print their own currency very rarely go broke. So
yes. Yeah. But it's an interesting look into America's national debt, IOUSA. So
nice. I'll give that one a watch.
Yeah, I would do Inside Job. That's really good.
The other one that I didn't really pay, but a lot of people talk about is it was called Margin Call, and it was set in like a boardroom at the time of the GFC when an investment bank realized how screwed they were. It's got like some big names in it. So
interesting.
Yeah, I mean, you can add it to your list. I wouldn't put it at the top, but that's another one.
Nice. I'll give it a crack. I actually think that Tim, the guy who asked this question, he recommended Margin Call. Maybe.
Okay.
I'll have to double check that.
If you enjoyed that movie, I apologise. I guess we have different tastes. No, it wasn't bad. It's just there are better movies out there.
Yeah, fair call.
Yeah.
Fair call.
Yeah.
Okay, so final question, Ren, it's a good one. It's one we often get asked a lot, especially as we progress further and further with the podcast and meet listeners face to face. They always ask us the question of where do we recommend listening from in our series of podcasts, because obviously we've got now 70 odd.
Yeah, I think this would be 72.
Yeah, and if you start from the start, it could be quite daunting and you might feel like you're missing out on some things that we're talking about now. But then obviously if you start from where we are now and try and work your way backwards, some things might not make sense or fall into place, because we hope to have some bit of continuity throughout the whole thing, and as we obviously build on our journey of learning to invest.
Yeah.
So it's a good question.
It is, and it's a funny one, because, when I start a podcast, rarely I'll start back at the beginning, unless it's, like a series that, a serial or something that tells a story. But I guess it's really dealer's choice. I think, well, obviously if people are listening to this episode, they've either made the decision to start towards the end or they've gone all the way through, and at this point then the question's moot. But the only thing I'd say is if you start at the beginning, you have to, pardon our teething issues at the start, I guess.
Yeah, quality's not so great. But look, my answer to this would be obviously try and work your way through it, because as I said, we're all about learning as we go and building upon, the building blocks that we make, and as we learn lessons, we'll sort of go through them. But a lot of the time we discuss relevant stuff, and of course, classic example now is advertising for our show and that sort of stuff. And we would hate for you to miss out on these things just because you've been listening from the start. So where you can, I would try and keep up to date, but definitely head back and build on it as you go.
Yeah, and maybe just start in the middle and just go random.
Yeah,
maybe
there's some timeless episodes in there. So.
Yeah, maybe there's a shuffle option or something that you can do.
Yeah. Back and forward.
Yeah.
We haven't changed, Ren, so.
Yeah.
So that was a good little listener mailbag. Don't you think, Ren? I think that there's still some questions that are unanswered in there that we'll keep for next time, because there are some pretty hefty ones that we want to unpack a bit further that to deserve a lot more time.
Yeah.
But definitely encourage anyone to get in contact with us if you want to ask a question. And we'll, as you said, Ren, we'll either respond straight away on social media or whatever, or if it's worthy of getting on the show and we think everyone else would benefit from it, then we'll save it for later. But if you want to contact us, we've obviously got our email, equitymates@gmail.com, anyway, through our social media or through Ask Us Anything on our website.
Yeah, and preferably do it through the website rather than social media, because it just means that other people can see the questions. I think at this stage it's set up so other people can comment on questions.
Yeah.
Hopefully we get upvoting going soon, because, if you're asking the question, it's likely that other people also have the same question. So you may as well ask it so other people can see the answers. Or at least upload it. Yeah.
So get asking.
And it means that I can get off social media. So
Never. All right, Ren. Well, until next week, always good to chat.
Yeah. And if you haven't already, come to our live show. Or sign up to come to our live show in 2 days. This Thursday, the 13th.
Yes.
Hello, mates of Equity Mates. Or I guess that just makes you Equity Mates. Anyway, it's Bryce here. One of the most frequently asked questions we get is, where do we find information about all these stocks, and where's a good place to start? Now, we could do a whole episode on this, and we often do touch on it, but the best place to start is by signing up to our Thought Starters weekly email. Each week, we send you some cool stuff that has caught our eye during the week, as well as some more detailed articles on stocks and invested relating content. We also include Basics 101. These are articles tailored specifically for beginners to really propel you on your way. We don't spam you. We hate spam. It's once a week, and there's enough stuff in there to occupy you for a full day of browsing at work. Now, Ren puts a lot of effort into finding quality articles for you guys, so if anything, just sign up so he feels the love. Head to equitymates.com and chuck in your email at the bottom of the page.
Equity Mates and the people appearing in this program may have positions in the companies mentioned. This is general advice only. please speak to a financial professional to understand how it may pertain to your individual situation.
Equity Mind.